The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? Today, let's dive into Good Fortune, a comedy where Amber and Scott discuss a rich guy, a struggling guy, and an angel walking into a body swap. You know how it goes. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Okay, so this movie was funny as hell, but it hit hard. Like, it hit really hard.
How so? Do you mean just with the social
Just all
messaging?
all the topics. I mean, there are a lot of very relevant topics.
Yeah, this is a dream movie for what we do here and talking about what would you do. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today for this episode where we are discussing Good Fortune. A well-meaning but rather inept angel named Gabriel meddles in the lives of a struggling gig worker and a wealthy venture capitalist. And this film was starring, written, and directed by Aziz Ansari. And he knocked it out of the park.
Dear God, this movie was amazing. I freaking loved every minute of this movie. Like I've got my short list of like the movies I love the most, and this might actually go on that super short list. Like, I loved this movie for what it was, because it was really in touch.
Yeah, it was a comedy that actually was funny and made you laugh out loud. And it wasn't just us. The entire theater was laughing throughout. And there are very few comedies where you don't just get one laugh from something that was in the trailer, where people laugh repeatedly throughout the film.
I don't think I've laughed that hard at a movie since we've started doing this.
Yeah, and Keanu Reeves played the angel Gabriel, and his deadpan delivery
was so
was
freaking good.
Priceless.
Oh my God, he was amazing.
Yeah, he was a superstar, and just kudos to Aziz Ansari, because he really just incredible job, and the casting was great.
I mean, I'd say Seth Rogen did a good job, but Seth Rogen kind of played Seth Rogen.
Yeah, and this film actually was especially fun for us because it was shot in and around Los Angeles and Hollywood, and we definitely saw a lot of places in the backgrounds that we recognized, and a lot of local humor in that.
So. It is always a trip when we see that, which is a lot.
Yeah, and they reference places that are near us, so that's always a little fun bonus. But the most important thing is there are a ton of what would you do scenarios throughout this film. So many. We could do 2.5 hours on this film with all the what would you do. Super, super good content for what we do here. So where do you want to start?
I mean, good Lord.
I mean, let's just start at the beginning.
Yeah.
You're having a rough time. You know, our character, our gig worker, was struggling and doing all of the gig stuff, and I'll assemble your desk for you, and I'll pick up your cinnamon buns for you, and was barely keeping his head above water. And then finally the parking tickets racked up, and his car was repossessed. And
towed. But
yeah, towed. But I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit here. He has a gig. This is actually probably our best first what would you do. He has a gig with this rich guy, Jeff, who is Seth Rogen's character, and has to clean up his garage. And Seth says, thank you, you did a great job. I'm down an assistant right now, so, really appreciate it. And, Anj said, hey, how about I'm your assistant? And Jeff was like, I don't know. It's like, well, we get along great. Let's give it a 1-week trial. And this is our first what would you do. It's going great. Arj is crushing all the assignments. Jeff is totally great. Jeff even gives him a company card, so when he goes and does errands for him, he can just pay for it there. And Arj has a date, and Jeff says, you should go to this place, which is a place that Jeff just asked him to make a reservation for him. So obviously it is a high-end place if Jeff was going to go, and then he recommends it to Arj.
Yeah, that's already a red flag.
Yeah. Arj stupidly says, okay, goes and takes his date to this restaurant and winds up getting a bill that's over $300 and uses the company credit card in a panic that he does not have the money.
There's a number of what would you do just in this scenario.
Yeah, for sure. So what would you do?
Well, let's start with what would I do number one. I Yelp the place beforehand and
Yes!
get an idea as to what the hell everything costs.
Yeah, if my billionaire boss is going there, I got to think it's kind of a nice restaurant. So right there is reason enough not to go. But if he recommends it, I'm looking online for the frickin' prices, not showing up to then see them on the menu when I'm sitting across from my date.
Also, a bonus, what would you do that didn't come up in the movie exactly, but is very much in line. If ever the waiter at a restaurant that's more high-end tells you about something that they have and it's not on the menu and you haven't seen it listed anywhere,
It's
and
not.
the only place that you've seen it or hear it was from them, ask what it costs.
Yeah, and this is where I think ego comes in because you can probably speak to this more than I can, is a guy probably doesn't want, if you ask what it costs as a girl, I'm immediately like, frick, I have to pay attention. I can't, he's aware of money, so I can't just order what I want because he's concerned about money.
Well, I think I might have told you this. I made this mistake with a tomahawk
Yeah.
steak before, and don't get me wrong, that's an insanely expensive cut, and I was not ready for what that bill, even knowing it was an insanely expensive cut, and like I was not ready for that. So I think if you get into something that's that expensive, yeah, I think it's fine to be like, what's that going to run me? Or what's the damages on that? You
can phrase it in a way that doesn't feel as penny pincherish.
Exactly. Yeah, you've got to be careful how you phrase it. But yeah, what's the damage on that one?
Yeah, so that's the first one, is look to see where you're going if you're taking a date to make sure that it's actually within your budget. So then the second ethical dilemma is you now have this $300 and something bill and you realize you have no way to pay this. Do you use the company credit card that you were given from a guy that you've been working for a couple of days?
For one, how the hell do you get a card made that fast? Like, those things are like 2 weeks in the mail to get to you.
If you're a billionaire, you probably have some sort of expedited service or a rep or something.
Okay, so we're gonna set aside the fact that he recommended this restaurant and said that it was reasonably priced, because for him it was, and for ours it was not. That aside, if you come to the end and your bill is up and you are literally look at this thing, I have no way to pay for this. Like, there's no way. This card that I'm holding is the company credit card, is the only thing I have.
And he did see the great majority of the prices, so it was stupid to even be in that situation. He saw most of the prices.
Yeah, I mean, it was...
Why would you do that? Anyway, so, as you were.
See, this is a really tough one because you can't dine and dash. But, well, if I'm being frankly honest, for one, when she offers to, hey, we should split this, I might say, how about this? This did come out to a little more than I thought. If you put in $100 towards it, I'll get the rest. So that way you're getting some.
Yeah.
Or know how much money you have that you can charge for.
Right.
And if you could reasonably do that, you still want to pay greater than 50% as the guy asking the girl on a date. I mean, and for sure, like, you wouldn't go to her unless she actually said, let's split.
Yeah, she did mention that, and that's a somewhat reasonable suggestion. I would say the other thing, too, is if you really felt like you were in a bind, call Jeff, the guy who gave you the card, and saying, I took your recommendation, we had a great meal, it's more than I anticipated. Can I take a lien against my wages and use the card, and then you don't take that off of my earnings for the week?
So
you talk to people. What the heck?
Here is the thing. So I thought about exactly what you just said before answering this question, and I have to say sometimes it easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
But if you're on a first couple of days on a trial for a job that you desperately need.
Here's what I do if I'm in that situation. Let's just assume that she hadn't offered or whatever, and just like, this is the only way I'm going to cover it. I'm going to swipe that card. And I'm going to end the date. And within 5 seconds of the end of the date, I'm going to call Jeff and say, Jeff, I want to thank you for the recommendation of the restaurant. Unfortunately, I think you and I might have different definitions as to what is affordable and not. It was not for me. I literally had no money, no way to pay for it outside of the card that you gave me. So I don't want you to discover this and think that I'm stealing from you. Please take money away from my wages to cover this. But I did what I had to do because I literally couldn't steal from the restaurant and walk out. I had no option.
Well, and if you say that, though, I mean, you certainly come off sounding really bad. In fact, you took a date out to a restaurant and you didn't even have a buck to contribute to this?
Well, it's not that he didn't have
You said you didn't have any money.
Or didn't have enough money to cover that bill.
See, and
he was going to go out for tacos.
Yeah. I mean, it's bad judgment all around. And, there's so many other things in this thing. But ultimately, what this ends up with is the next day, Jeff's accountant tells him about the expense.
Jeff discovers it. And that's, you don't want them
and then
to
says,
discover.
I'm sorry, I have to let you go, Arj. And Arj is like, really? Really? Yeah, dude, really? You stole from your boss.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm fine with doing it the way I said. But now, again, that's not a good scenario. But I'm fine with doing it that way. You cannot let him discover this any other way other than you telling him. And telling him, like, super promptly.
Yeah.
Like I said, 5
theft.
seconds after end of the day, I am on the phone to Jeff.
Yeah, no, it's theft. So anyway, this encounter then ultimately ends up with Arj living in his car and having his car towed away. And long story short, Gabriel, the angel, shows up to Arj when he's there, realizing his car's been taken away, and switches Arj's life with Jeff's life, because surely Arj will realize that rich Jeff doesn't have it quite as good as Arj might think.
Hell no!
Yeah, and then chaos ensues because, surprisingly, Arj does not have this great epiphany that, rich people have it hard too, and money doesn't solve everything, because Gabriel realizes, hey, money did solve everything, and Arj is having a really good time in Jeff's life.
Let me just say that money can't buy happiness, but it can nearly indefinitely rent it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's the thing. People say, more money, more problems. Yeah, but
they're different
they're better problems to have.
Yeah, like we were talking about the other day, it is a good problem to have to pay a lot of taxes, because if provided you're just not a ding-dong who's paying taxes you shouldn't, it basically means you're doing really well, you've made a lot of money, and that is a good problem to have, to give the government a lot of taxes.
I would rather have too much than too little.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of, getting a $500 payback of your money that you've basically loaned the government, it's better to have to pay them a lot of money because you're doing well. So the rest of the movie follows with Arj having a great time in Jeff's body, and now Jeff is a gig worker. Not his body.
I'm just going to say, if I'm a celestial being, Gabriel, I'm never making that offer. Like, he is kind of a dum-dum. If he thought, hey, I'm going to give this guy like millions and millions and millions of dollars to do whatever the hell he wants with it, and expect that he's going to want to go back to sleeping in his car afterwards. No.
Yeah, and that, unfortunately, is just a result of Gabriel basically working out of class and assuming the responsibilities for a position he does not have, because he's actually in charge of tapping people on the shoulder when they're texting and driving to make sure they don't die.
He and I are good friends.
Yeah,
he has saved me many times.
So he is not qualified at all to be making this swap. And of course, it ends poorly because Arj is having a great time, doesn't want to go back to his life, and Jeff is struggling because now he is a gig worker delivering food and doing tasks and getting insight into that.
Sadly, it wasn't a problem until Gabriel decided he was going to give Jeff back his memory.
Yeah, because they were both living their lives, but then when Gabriel taps Jeff at a party, then Jeff all of a sudden realizes, hey, what? You're living in my house and swimming in my pool and having parties, and this is my life, and I'm living in a car delivering food and getting yelled at and getting bad ratings, and customers are tipping me $1 and yada yada. So to your point earlier about this being, you didn't say meaningful, but you said something where there was, where we talked about social issues going on. How did you say that at the beginning? Anyway, there was a lot going on because
I
it
know,
was.
I've said things since then.
Yeah, it was basically also a commentary on the struggles and the inequities that people endure.
Oh,
in the
I said it
workplace.
hit hard.
Yeah, in the workplace, because at the same time we also have another storyline with Arj and this girl who works at a home hardware place, who is trying to unionize the workers because they aren't getting paid enough and they're taking double shifts. And then you have this also parallel line with the gig economy and people being paid to stand in line for 2 hours to get fancy cinnamon rolls and getting dinged on stars and tips and whatnot. So there was a lot of social commentary in there with the inequity of people who have money and people who are struggling and working hard trying to stay afloat.
Okay, so I have never officially actually been in a union in my life. I did work for a company that was unionized, but I was hired in a methodology where I was not actually ever part of the union because they were actually on strike when I got hired. Mm-hmm. But they were working. It was like they weren't like not.
Wait, you were a scab?
Well, I wasn't a scab because they were still working. They were okay. It wasn't on strike. Sorry, they were like deep in contract negotiations, talking about striking. But because of that, and I don't want to name the company, they didn't want to hire new full-time people in that would go into the union. So they hired part-timers in, so they wouldn't go into the union. But everyone was still working at the time.
Got it.
They were
Okay.
just deep in negotiation.
Yeah, part-time.
And they
workers.
thought that there probably would be striking, though I don't think there ever actually was a strike. Either way, I've never worked for a union. I know you.
I have had jobs where, that are unionized workplaces.
So here's my question for you. Mm-hmm. You're working your job, and this guy who has approached you, like it's not like you've tried to gold digger him or something. He's approached you, and you're dating. It's going well, and you could see that like this is kind of a road, and this guy's got like he's freaking loaded for cash.
Yeah, Arj is living in Jeff's house.
If he was like, why don't you just say screw that? I'll take care of you easily. Like, are you just going to be like, no, I want to continue to fight the good fight, or are you going to be like, sorry guys, peace?
Okay, this is the constant disconnect that you and I have, is because you are all about the money, and
I'm not all about the money, but like I said, I know that money solves problems.
that is not uncommon to do what the character in this film did, who was the love interest of Arj, who was trying to unionize her hardware shop. Is she said, I cannot. When she was at his house, she was like, I can't be up here living the good life where people are struggling down there. She goes, I want to help the people who are struggling down there get up here.
Do you know?
And that is.
Do you know anyone who's ever made a decision like that? Like where they literally could have walked away into a very good life?
A lot of people don't want success on the backs of others. They believe in social equity and lifting people up. And this is the disconnect you and I frequently have on,
here's the
on
thing.
moral and ethic issues.
But it is really easy to say all of those things when you don't have a very clear path out of it. She had a very clear path out of it.
You know, this is the part that
I mean, this is the part where honestly, I keep it real. I'm keeping it real.
Okay, you're keeping it real for you, but a lot of people want to, for society, what is it? A high tide rises all boats. And a lot of people have a desire for society as a whole to do better, that they're not going to put away their social justice agenda or ideas because they can get a good car or stay in a nice house because they're concerned about society as a whole.
I'm not saying put away the social justice agenda, but here's the thing. They always say if you want to take care of others, the first person you need to take care of is yourself.
Well, not in that context.
Well, it kind of is. Like, if you get yourself into that position and you are money adjacent, like to the point that you now have resources, you can use those additional resources to go back and then help those people try to get where they need to get. Like
you can, but you also lose credibility if you're not. And this is a lot of people who try and do good and change society and do it from the inside instead of the outside feel the way Elena, the girl here, did feel, is they want to create change.
So you think something like a Wallace Annenberg just lost all credibility because she went into a situation with money?
Okay, well, a lot of folks probably won't know who Wallace Annenberg was, but she died recently. An amazing philanthropist here in the Los Angeles area.
She put herself into a money situation.
Well, she came from a money situation.
I don't know exactly her background.
She didn't leave the hood and get married to a rich person and then try and help people in the hood.
I don't know her situation. Maybe she grew up in Compton. I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, she comes from money, from a very philanthropic family who has used that money to make so many amazing improvements here to so many audiences here in the LA area.
My point is if you can get yourself into a money situation, you can do stuff with that. That's why, like, I tell people who are struggling but still like making donations to this charity and that charity, etc. I say, listen, it is great that you want to do this. Stop it. Just stop it right now. Use that money to get yourself fully right and to the point that you can start using money to generate money, because then you'll be able to give them way more money in the long run by getting yourself right first. And that is, I get it. But the problem is when people are giving money away when they don't have much, they're actually doing it for insanely greedy reasons. They want to feel good. They want to feel good about themselves, and that's why they do it.
Well, I mean, most actions, are self-serving in that way in one respect, but that's not what was happening here with Elena. It wasn't a matter of giving money. But I do agree with you that many people do contribute money that they don't have to their own detriment, that sinks them further down because they just don't have that money to spare. So I have seen that happen with people we know, and it's
maybe she could have just kept her job.
But this wasn't about money, and this was about her being in a low-wage job.
She could have had both.
Not being treated well, and her coworkers not being treated well, because also one of her coworkers at the hardware store recently passed out, had some sort of stroke or something from all the stress of having multiple jobs. And that's what the theme that we saw throughout this film is people in low-wage jobs, people in gig jobs, people in service jobs, having to have multiple jobs just to barely keep their head above water.
So I want to kind of, I know we're trying to move on here, and I'm trying to not let us, but like, you can have both. She could be like, I'm going to stay here working and doing this, but knowing that she has the financial backing, that she's working there because she can, not because she has to. It frees her mind, because when you don't have money, you have problems. You have worries. Trust me, I know. When you don't have money, you have worries and you have problems. If you can make those worries and problems go away, that in the back of your head, then if you want to help everyone else, you're doing it with such a more clear mind. And you're able to speak your mind at things and not worry that you're going to get fired at your job. I get fired, okay. I mean, I'm not trying to get fired, but I'm not fearful that, oh my God, how am I going to make it if they terminate me?
But I think the character of Elena was like a lot of people are, in the fact that you have certain credibility when you are one of us, when you are in the thick of it, experiencing the same things all of us are. So if you have this job you come to as, you know, you don't really need it, and then you go home to your boyfriend's house on the hillside and attend all of his rich, fancy parties, you do lose credibility with the people that you're trying to keep it real with. And I think that's the struggle that a lot of people in that situation find themselves.
Maybe my problem is the last thing I saw her in, she was orchestrating an armored car robbery. So I see her as not as altruistic just because of the actor's last role. But no, I get it, but I don't agree with it. I just don't. You can do so much more good when you're coming from money.
I don't think she was in that movie that you're thinking.
No. It wasn't a movie. We didn't see it. I saw it.
What are you talking about?
But the armored car robbery one?
Yeah.
It's an Amazon movie.
Oh.
I don't even remember what it was. It came out not too long ago.
Okay. Yeah,
But-
I wasn't following what you were talking about. Yeah, no, she was actually in One of Them Days.
She was, yes.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what it is. It came out not too long ago on
Okay.
Amazon. It's actually not a bad movie.
So anyway, to
remember
move a
the
little
name.
further along, and again, the goal is to not have a 2.5-hour episode, which could be easy, but ultimately, Gabriel loses his job for messing things up so epically, and to switch back, Arj has to want to switch back and also see hope for his future, which... How do you see hope for your future? Your car has been towed. You have no money. You have no job, no prospects. And long story short, because Gabriel got fired and he is normally the texting while driving angel, Arj gets in a car accident, gets a coma, and then pretends to not have his memory so he doesn't have to keep up his end of the bargain and switch back with Jeff.
That was a pro move. That was a pro move.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
I loved it.
Who are you? Do I know you? What?
Here's a pamphlet.
Yeah, here's a pamphlet on my brain loss with a coma.
Like, I'm just gonna keep it real here. If this happens to 1 million people who are him in this scenario and swaps over, of those million, the number that are going to swap back and be jazzed about it is 0.
Yeah.
Absolutely 0. Like, maybe willing to from a moral perspective, but 0 are going to be actually jazzed about it.
Yeah.
There might be one, but that person should be committed.
Jeff has a really, really good life. And
It's putting it lightly.
ironically, and we'll jump to the end here for just a moment. Ironically, he actually is an investor in one of the companies that run robotic food delivery. And we have a ton of these where we live, a little army sometimes on the blocks of these little robot cooler heater boxes that restaurants put food in. And that robot goes through the streets and delivers your food for you. And you don't need a person.
To give you an idea here, we film 4 or 5 blocks from the movie theater, not far. And on the drive from there to here, I counted at least 15 of them, and there were probably more that I just didn't see.
Yeah, that was just on one street that we went down.
That was really funny.
Yeah, it was. It definitely hit home because we see those things all the time, and they look exactly like that. But what Jeff sees when he lives this alternate life as a gig worker is, number one, he loses work because they're being replaced with these robots. And when he ultimately gets his life back, he tells the company that he's investing with, like, forget that. We need to actually make these reasonable jobs for our employees and pay them and whatnot, because he's seen it from the other side.
And this is honestly where I think some of the bigger conversation from this episode comes. And this is just going to be a long episode. I don't care. It's hard out there unless you are in a situation where you have a very good, solid background in a field, or you're like just out of college.
Well, even out of college, we saw early in the film where Arj, on one of his task sergeant assignments, is talking to a kid who wants to be an archaeologist when he grows up, and Arj basically says, yeah, good luck, you're not going to get a job, there are no jobs, I've never met an archaeologist, and you're going to come back and live home with your parents, and everyone.
my high school physics teacher straight up told everyone how he went to school to be a petroleum engineer because it was big when he went in. By the time he got out, there were no jobs. And he wasn't working as a teacher basically because he wanted to. He was working as a teacher because he couldn't get a job in the field he wanted. I mean, mind you, by that point, quite some time had passed. He'd grown to love teaching, and he actually was a great teacher. But like, he couldn't find the job in the field he wanted.
Yeah, and the reality is with the world changing, so much changing over the last couple of years, and so many people adopting gig jobs, it's hard because those jobs don't come with benefits, they don't come with stability, and a couple of bad reviews from someone for something that might not be your fault. Like in the movie, there was one
ranch,
container
one star
of ranch, and the person who ordered the food dinged the driver, and the driver's just picking up the food and delivering it for you.
So
and
this was easier pre-COVID when they didn't seal all of the packages, and you could actually see, you could count the number of ranches and be like, tell them, hey, they said extra ranch, I need extra ranch. But yeah, now
everything's taped up.
They tape it up, so like you can't see it.
Yeah, and that is as a safety measure, so
Yeah.
the driver doesn't eat your French fries on the way.
Precisely. So like, I don't know what's in the bag. Like, I'm just literally picking it up and delivering it to you. That's my job.
Yeah, it definitely, when you see it front and center in the film like that, it really does make you see, I guess, just have more empathy for the fact that, you know, everyone's just trying to do what they're trying to do to just get through the day sometimes.
And you have to bust your ass for not a living wage.
Yeah.
I mean, or please, again, it should be noted we are in the greater Los Angeles area. So certainly your mileage may vary depending on where you are. But I can tell you, I could work gig stuff like 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I'm not going to make a living wage.
Well, and when Jeff is filling in for Arj, basically living his life, he's trying to make some money one day to pay for a hotel room and realizes he spent more on gas than he made in wages. So,
though I really want to know, how much gas did he spend if he made enough money that if he had been paid, he could have paid for that $125 hotel room.
Motel, yeah.
But because not, then he lost money on the day. So he spent over $125 on gas in one day.
Gas is expensive. I don't know. Yes, you do like to math check our
Sorry,
movies.
Aziz. Gotcha.
Yeah, math equations do not go unnoticed by you.
Yeah, I need to be like the director of making numerical sense on films. Like, you can hire me.
You needed to be the consultant on A Beautiful Mind. There was lots of math in that film.
Yeah, just make me the consultant, and my job is to make sure that your numbers and dates and stuff like that make effing sense.
Yeah. So basically,
Seriously, hire me for that.
this is a film that really,
Because the job market's hard.
yeah, no.
I wasn't kidding. Not that anyone's hiring for that, but
No, it's getting harder. I mean, I read yesterday that JPL is having yet another layoff of hundreds of employees. So
Yeah, I
the economy, the world is changing very rapidly.
and
right
they're
now.
right. You can apply for a bajillion jobs and just crickets.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which was the case in the past, but at least you thought a human was in the loop and could be like, oh, well, maybe this person has potential. Nowadays, for most large companies, there is not even a human in the loop.
no, there's not, and that's the thing. If you try to horn your way in to force a human, they're just gonna be like, that's just not how we do things.
Yeah, we have a system here. So this film was it was funny. It was super funny. And
But it was super real.
but yeah, it definitely did have a social commentary to it.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like Amber said up front, we could probably do 2.5 hours just going over
Because a lot happened.
But I do want to hit one. What would you do? That I kind of felt like it's a no-brainer on this one. Like, okay, listen. It's kind of a bad scenario all the way around. Or I mean, especially if you're, oh God, what's his name?
Arj?
No,
Jeff? Gabriel?
Jeff. Oh, Jeff and Gabriel, I guess both. But like from a legal perspective, Arj has that house and has that life, and he's not going to want to give it up. But he also knows that this was built on the backs of Jeff, who actually was the one that set it up, and Gabriel, who's the one who put him in that situation, and they're clearly struggling. Why don't you be like, I have a huge freaking house. I have probably a bajillion bedrooms.
Yeah.
Why don't we just all basically live together?
Yeah, that kind of happened towards the end, but at the very beginning, basically, Arj was like, yeah, no, this is my life. Give me a couple of days to enjoy it, and then I'll say it's okay to go back.
But that's not the deal he wanted to make. He was just trying to get him off their back.
Yeah, and then of course
that's like telling the debt collector, yeah, I'll pay you. I promise it's coming. Just give me some time.
Yeah, and
you're gonna say what you got to do to get past that situation.
And Jeff did say, reluctantly, okay, have a couple of days, go on vacations, have fun.
But that's the thing. If it's his decision, like Jeff wasn't, or Arj wasn't the one behind the 8 ball here. He could do whatever he wanted, whether it was moral or not. And that's kind of what I say. Like, I'm not going back. I'm just not going back to that. We could all live together. I don't know. There was an interesting thing where he was like, I'll give you $200,000 if you'll swap back.
Jeff, yeah.
And don't get me wrong, that could absolutely get somebody in a great freaking position. I probably would have tried to negotiate for $500,000. You get $500,000 and he gets his life back, and which is, I'm sure,
which is extortion, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's fine because it's either pay $500,000 or, I believe, as he said, get bent. Like, really, it's kind of that scenario. Like, sorry, it may suck for you, but you have millions and millions and millions of dollars. You have lots of money. For you to get that back, give me $500,000 of money that you actually don't even have right now, because I have it. So, yeah, give me $500,000. He's just going to say done. You swap back. Morally, you're fine because you've given Jeff back his life, and you now have $500,000 that you can use to build out, and that's fine. Like you can.
$500,000 isn't what it used to be.
It's not. I'm not saying it sets you. You're still going to have to work. You're still going to have to do things, but you're going to have, like I was discussing earlier, you're going to have a lot of that pressure taken off of you to be able to think clearly. And if he wants to do a documentary, he could probably start working towards that. Like he doesn't have to take crappy jobs to forego his dreams.
And part of Arj's doubling down was really he was upset over being fired. And
not that he should have been.
Yeah, and honestly, he did not have the moral high ground there.
No, he didn't.
He had no right. Jeff might have been rich and a little bit snooty at times, but
it was still Jeff's money.
And trusting him with the card and then having it abused like that was completely understandable. That was not okay.
Yeah, no, we could keep going and going, but this is already a marathon. So
yeah, final thoughts.
If I got money, I'm not giving it up. Nope. Gimme, keep. Cha-ching.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.